Welcome to Living Well with Mary Lou Andre, a 30-minute monthly lifestyle program to help you live better on your own terms by being inspired by interesting and thought-provoking people who make the world a better place to live. I'm your host, Mary Lou Andre, and today I'm excited to introduce you to two fun pals and comedy podcasters, Liz Daly and Rick Fink. Both Liz and Rick have a knack for using humor to bring levity to any situation, introducing more joy and laughter into the world with their stellar wit and wisdom. As a marketing executive, Liz uses humor daily to reduce workplace stress and create a culture of open communication. As a stand-up comic with regular performances at popular clubs around Boston, including Nick's Comedy Club, Steve Sweeney's Comedy Den, and the comedy scene at Gillette Stadium, Rick consistently brings his Gen X sensibility, clean observation, and satire to his loyal fan base. I met Liz and Rick when they invited me to be on their hilarious podcast, Town Scuttlebutt, a comedy podcast that reacts to the overreactions of small town life. I love them at hello and believe you will too. Their podcast celebrates its 5-year anniversary and 250th episodes this June. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Liz and Rick. Liz, Rick, welcome.
Thank you.
So excited to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
As I said, I loved you at hello. I think that your wisdom, your wit, your story is amazing, and I just wanted you to come on and share some of what makes you guys you. So let's start with the origin story. I know that it is tied to your children. Mm-hmm. I know it's tied to the pandemic. So take it away. Jump in and share with our audience the origin story.
So I'll kick us off and send it over to you.
Yeah.
So Rick and I are married, but not to each other, to other people. We do have children the same age, though, who attended the same daycare. So I got to know Rick really well at the forced social interactions that you have to have with other parents when your children are at birthday parties or soccer sidelines or whatever it is. And it's like, and as parents, you know that these are kind of like a National Geographic. You're sort of feeling everybody out because you don't really know them, and you're kind of trying to figure out who's your people, same sense of humor. Well, within minutes of meeting Rick and his snarky sense of humor, I knew he was going to be one of my best friends in the daycare setting. So that's how we got to know each other. His wife, I count as one of my closest friends as well. Our daughters are super tight. So yeah, that's how we got to know each other and realizing we kind of had a lot in common from a sense of humor perspective. So
awesome.
I'll let you take away the podcast, how we got to be podcast partners.
Oh, sure. Well, with the stand-up comedy that I had started right before I always wanted to have the project of a podcast to kind of give me that open mic opportunity, just to take ideas for a walk, you know, and then maybe some of that stuff could translate onto the stage. But then COVID came around, we just leaned right into the podcast, and Liz had one as well, so she's all into doing podcasting and expressing herself in the verbal format there, and then she, for whatever reason, I think your partner couldn't do it anymore, so it didn't happen. So I said, hey, I poached her.
Oh,
Yes.
and I
took
love
her.
that
I
your
was happy to
first
be poached.
podcast
Yes.
was multitasking in heels.
Yes, my friends,
I think
yes.
when we were emailing back early in our relationship, I'm like, I like this gal. I need to get to know her. But I think what your origin story shows for our viewers is a lot of our show is really about helping people understand how they can create cool new relationships, embrace new chapters. And I know as a mom myself, a new chapter being parents, and you really have to find your tribe. So you guys were just starting out, getting your kids, you know, out from the house but into the world. You guys connected, and it's really about finding commonality.
Exactly.
And for as long as I've known you guys, you have a lot in common, so that's great. So Liz, I'm going to turn back over to you.
Sure.
And in chatting ahead of today's program, you shared that Liz is a marketing executive. Maybe share a couple words on that. And then share with our audience how you use humor as your professional superpower.
Sure. So I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the humor cliff. So it is a survey that Gallup did of 1.4 million Americans that show that people reported laughing frequently and freely up until age 23. Then there was a sharp decline, and it didn't pick back up until age 80. So my friends, that is a serious epidemic we have on our hands. We have a dopamine shortage in our country.
Wow.
So I do feel it's important to infuse humor in both your workplace life, because that's, let's face it, where we spend most of our time, and our colleagues are who we spend most of our time with, as well as outside of work. But the way I try to infuse it in the workplace is, I work for a large financial services organization. We manage people's money. That is no laughing matter. However, there is an artful way to infuse gravity and levity in a very appropriate manner in the workplace. And I think that someone who has an appropriate sense of humor in the workplace shows creativity, intelligence, and confidence. And those are three, really important qualities in any employee. So I try to do that just as an individual contributor. As a people leader, I try to use humor as a way to break tension and create a culture of inclusion and a safe place for my direct reports to feel like they can be open and honest with me. At the end of the day, yes, what we do is important, but we are not saving anyone's lives. And if someone makes a mistake, if someone is stressed out about their priorities or their deadlines, let's have a conversation. We will definitely laugh during it, and you will come out feeling better and more confident about how you're moving forward.
Love that, Liz. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And let's shift over to Rick. And I just found out something about Rick in the last 10 minutes that I didn't know. Rick was a 9th grade teacher. What did you teach?
I taught history and English.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So bring us back to when you were 9th grade, 10th grade. What were you doing that kind of instilled this lifelong interest in turning humor into your career? Like, share with us, like, who you were in these different chapters, so to speak, of your life, and how
9th and 10th grade?
Like, how did that set you up?
I was a fast track to be valedictorian, but then I said, you know what? I'd rather just sit back here and crack jokes. So I made that decision. Now, probably like in 7th grade, I was at a friend's house. Unsupervised, had an illicit VHS tape. You know what I'm talking about, right? Eddie Murphy, Delirious. And I loved it. Then I got a tape of it, and I just memorized it. And I just loved this guy. He was like an alpha on stage, and he just commanded everybody's attention, and they gave it to him. They're praising him, and he was hilarious. And this is back in the 80s, so yeah, maybe I'm like 11, 12 years old, whatever, I don't know. I knew everything, right? Because I was with the older kids on the bus, right? It's not like today where we hide things from kids. I was like, this guy's great. Now, that's not my brand of humor. I'm much cleaner than him. But then I gravitated towards David Letterman in high school.
Okay.
And that's more my landing spot. It's the snarky kind of satire reaction to...
Sarcastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much... You look around, there's a lot of stupidity going on. I mean, just listen to anyone having a debate about anything. Stupid. That's what it... And find it on the internet. Like, go to the internet.
In your studio too, Rick, I love you've got your whiteboards up, and you're like, you're such a keen observer of life, and I think every time I've been on your show, I just laugh for days, which to your point, Liz, things are so serious in the world today. If we can't bring laughter in, what's the point? But tying it back to Liz bringing humor into her professional world, when you were teaching, what was your style in front of the classroom?
I was very authoritative. Smiling is weakness, right? You don't. No, it's interesting because it was a career change for me, and because I had a marketing background as well. But when I got into teaching, I found myself. I just like kids. And 9th graders are just big 8th graders. I mean, they're still young and moldable and influential. Like I still think they like their moms and dads. Like you can still get them, or at least for me. And before school would start, there's like 30 minutes where kids start showing up, and it's like, where do you go? I just started having kids showing up to the classroom.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah.
I mean, at first I thought, I'm flattered. And then I'm like, guys, I have stuff to do. And then I had to make rules. Like, okay, Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday we'll have Cool Club. And that's what it was. It was Cool Club. And we just do whatever I said was cool. Like today, Leonard Skinner's cool. So we're going to play that. And I'd get the room ready and they'd hang out. But that was me on a personal level. But as teaching goes, it was project-based learning, get up, move around. I had ADD. So when I went to grad school to learn how to be a teacher, I was like, this is if this was the way they taught it back in my day, as opposed to the 45 minutes of writing notes from some know-it-all on the Romans, right? I'm like, this is boring. I can't do it. So that's the kind of teacher I was. Like,
Yeah. So I think if I had to guess, your professional superpower was openness, inclusivity, connection, safety for these kids.
no, you'd be wrong.
No, I'm not.
Arriving 5 minutes late, leaving 10 minutes early. No, just kidding.
Yeah, you are not fooling me.
No, I love those kids. But
yeah,
whatever.
I love the connection between stand-up comedy and teaching in front of kids. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So going back to Liz for a moment, you also shared with me that for you, humor is therapeutic. So why don't you share a few words on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some people might call it a coping mechanism, but it is very therapeutic for me to find humor in any situation. And that's one of the things I love about comedy in general. A really good comedian, Rick being one of them, can inject humor in the most uncomfortable of places and get a genuine laugh out of it. So for me personally, I've used it my entire life, but I did lose my mom in 2023 to cancer. And after she entered end of life care, we obviously were spending quite a bit of time at the hospital with her. And one night I raced back to Newton Wellesley Hospital to be by her bedside. I went into her room and promptly tripped over her hospital bed, because at the end of the day, I'm a clod, first and foremost. And my poor mom's in the hospital bed, and I go and I sit next to her, and we're having this very deep, meaningful conversation about letting go. And I asked her, I said, would you like me to get you some water? She said, that would be great. And I stood up and she said, try not to trip over anything this time.
There you go.
And that was
Good.
my mom.
Yep.
Literally on her deathbed making fun of me. And so when she did pass, my sisters and I wrote her eulogy, and I started it off with a joke, because I think it's really important to warm up the crowd no matter what situation you're in. So my mom was a talker. The woman could talk a dog off a meat wagon, and that's what she was known for, and we would always make fun of her and whatnot. So I started her eulogy off with, if anybody here, if you knew my mother well, should be really uncomfortable with the amount of silence in this room right now. And like, that was my mom, she was funny. She loved laughing. Growing up in my house, we were all making fun of each other. And so again, it was one of the most traumatic thing I've been through in my life to date. Right. But I think that you have to be able to find the humor, and that was the way I was like keeping my mom with me, instead
like
of dissolving.
Your mom.
Absolutely.
Really?
That's
Because
how
you have
I
a piece
felt.
of her in you, obviously. Okay, I'd never heard that story.
Yeah.
That's really an awesome story. So back to Mr. Rick. I was kind of prepping for the interview with my 25-year-old son and said, what would you like me to ask Rick? And he's like, how does he do it? So can you share a little bit about your process, like how you get ready to perform? Like the prep, I know it's a lot, and I saw your whiteboards and all that, but then what you do to kind of psych yourself up to get ready to stand in front of folks. And as we were sharing before the program, Rick played hockey, and he was saying you know when you're going to make the shot. So how do you tie that all up in a bow for us in terms of the preparation, getting ready right before a big show, and your mindset? How do you develop a mindset to let you be in front of that kind of audience and nail it?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm a couple years into it, so now I've done all the open mics, and that's a grueling slog that you have to do. Like 1 a.m. at the Middle East in Cambridge for your 3 minutes in front of 7 people, and you waited 4 hours to do that. Do that every Tuesday until someone in the back laughs, and then that's going on the set, and then you get 5 minutes, and now you have something to offer, and it snowballs from there if you stay with it. Now what I do is I'm always mentally writing, like Steve Martin says, you always should be looking for the joke. So which I love, because every teacher, is everything a joke to you? I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for it. Like, so that's what I do. And I get all these ideas in my head, I kind of play with them, and then when I feel like there's something there, I get it on the whiteboard, and then from there I just write. Another way you can do it is just write free, just what do you call that? Just free write, and then you go back and then you can just highlight the stuff that is funny. Those are your beats. Now throw everything away, because you need the word economy. No one cares about all that, but just stitch it together. So that's how I write the jokes. Performing, I just, honestly, I like to take a nap. I like to take a 60 to 90 minute nap. I make no apologies. I do that, then I take a shower, And then the drive is great. I like a drive,
Yeah.
you know, and then I show up, and it's my new social setting. It's like you hang out and just stay smooth and cool. Don't look in your notebook. Like, you should have had all the work prep done. Now it's showtime. You're on the sideline waiting for the national anthem, right? So
And you love it.
Mhm.
And you love it.
Oh, yeah,
You
it's
get
just-
really fired up.
Yeah, because these people are now, that's my social scene now. It's like these comics, I know half of them. I don't know these half, but now I do. You know, I'm making that really, it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Favorite comic?
I think Bill Burr is the best comic right now. I think that Dave Chappelle is the most important. And Eddie Murphy, obviously, all-time favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Liz, how about you?
You know, we have a mutual love of Bill Burr. So yes, I love him. I also love Dave Chappelle. I think Rodney Dangerfield back in the day was incredibly influential as far as the comedy scene goes.
I'm gonna give you a fist bump on that one. I mean, that should be on everyone's Mount Rushmore.
Exactly,
right?
absolutely. So yeah, and I like a lot of what would probably be considered lesser well-known comics these days. They're not, you know, doing The Garden or whatnot. They're New York-based comics that kind of came out of, if anyone remembers Colin Quinn from the MTV days.
Yeah.
So he's another pioneer in the comedy scene. So yeah, and Rick always says I'm a student of comedy. I truly do love it. I love to consume it. I love to talk about it. I really do think it's an art form, but doesn't really get recognized as such, because it does really take a critical observer of life to create unique.
Yeah, it does.
I always say, if you see somebody showing up and delivering something really spectacular, there was hours behind the scenes. The talent is doing the work when no one's watching.
Exactly.
And then showing up and reading the audience and delivering a powerful message that's right on target. And
Can I just say one thing off of what Liz just said about, it is an art form. It is one of two art forms, performing arts, that is original to the United States. One is jazz, and the other one is stand-up
share
comedy.
more on that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
stand-up comes from vaudeville, right?
Yep.
And then vaudeville gives way to the radio.
Yeah.
But some things are trying to find its way. Stand-up comedy, for a brief time, ended up in strip clubs, right? And then it found its way into its actual clubs. And so here we are now. But
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, funniest thing that's happened to you this week, Rick? Putting him on the spot. You're next, Liz.
I stepped out of my comfort zone. All right, we talk about, you know, I did a 120-minute Reiki session yesterday.
You did?
Oh yeah, I feel great. Woo!
Oh my
You gotta do it. I'm so above you guys. Not that I'm better. I'm up here. It's like heavenly almost. It's true.
Awesome. Liz,
Yeah.
how about you?
Beat that.
I cannot
You
beat the
cannot.
120 Reiki session, but I don't. My house is a pretty savage one in terms of the quips that go around between my husband, myself, to our kids. Like no one is safe in our house. So honestly, really every day is a funny moment for me. I haven't had a holy cow, I can't believe this happened, because we try to find moments throughout the day to laugh.
So, for those in the audience let's go back to the podcast for a moment, because that's what brought you guys together, certainly brought me to you guys. So, if somebody was going to start a podcast out there, because I know there's a lot of people that want to do that, what would your advice be?
Before the show, I jokingly said, "Don't." There's 4 million of them. We don't need it. But you want to express yourself. You got something to say. You got something unique. They always say, have a niche.
Yeah.
And then find the niche within the niche. I don't know if we do that, because we don't play back. We do what we want. Do what you want.
Yes.
Do you want to have fun doing it and 200 listeners, or do you want to not have fun and have 10,000? I mean, that's your choice to make. And whatever it is you're passionate about, as silly as it might be, it is definitely going to be the passion of tens of thousands of others out there. And just do it.
Yeah. And how did you guys get started, like in terms of what kind of investment in equipment? Technically like that.
Can I add one more thing to what Rick said about if you're going to start a podcast? I would say be authentic,
Yes.
because people can sniff out inauthenticity, even if it's over the sound waves. You really have to truly show up and be yourself, or else people are going to not take you seriously or not be invested in what you're saying. And there are times, when at my last podcast, I shared some things, and my husband said, "Are you sure you want to be that vulnerable?" And I said, "Well, yeah, this is my story. I'm not embarrassed about anything. And if I can help someone who maybe was experiencing the same feelings I was, like, I'm totally okay with that. And if they look at me weird in Starbucks, I don't really care, you know."
Yeah, there's something nice about being over a certain age.
Yeah, exactly. I have nothing left to prove.
We live in Medfield.
I know.
All the affluent white women look at me weird. So just half my jokes are about them. And they're like,
So you are celebrating your 250th episode next month in June, and you've had the podcast for 5 years. So I would say that's pretty successful. What was your most memorable moment podcasting as a team? Like anything funny, anything like
I have one, but I don't know if it's going to be the same as yours.
go for it. Let's hear it.
It was just the two of us recording, and it was, now I can't even remember what it was about, but it was the article. We were talking about a pretty serious subject. It was an article in the Globe we were commenting on, and you got a couple of emails afterwards saying that people really enjoyed like the seriousness of that topic, and I'm like totally spacing on what it was. Rolando Perez reached out to you afterwards. So that one was really memorable. But like
it was the reaction that you got.
And the reaction that we got.
Authentic. So I think that's a big
message. Yes, because we were being very honest.
Being very honest, and then a reaction.
Risking backlash.
Yeah.
Do you want a behind the scenes
Yes,
moment?
of course. Of course, Rick.
We did a live show a while back, and it was about time to be introduced. Who's coming out? And we could have been introduced together. In hindsight, we probably could have done that. But for whatever reason, it was going to be an order, and we literally were pushing, literally, physically, no, you go. And I'm like, well, I'm a guy. You know, chivalry, I'm old-fashioned, right? Is it okay to do that?
We were like 5-year-olds. You go, you go.
You go,
Ladies
yeah.
first,
Yeah. And then 2 seconds later, we get up on stage, and then remember, the battery on the computer was down to like 5%. Things were telling me, everything's shutting down in 2 seconds, and we had a whole room. Of course, you sell it out, right? So there's 100 people in here, and I'm like, hey, we're Liz and Rick and Ray, and I'm like knowing that we're probably 3 seconds away from disaster. But while I just had the thing was unplugged. You know, those stupid Apple adapters that weigh 14 pounds, they can't hang on a wall. It fell off during the day, didn't know it. Anyway.
But I can't tell you how many times after we've recorded a podcast, we'll say like, that was the most fun episode ever. And then like 3 weeks later, we're like, that was the most fun episode ever. Yeah. So we're just always enjoying it, which I think is important.
So really another big takeaway for our audience is find something that you really enjoy.
Yes.
Partner with somebody that gets you. You guys get each other. And go for it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're passionate, if you're willing to be authentic and put yourself out there, and you've got, your, what do they call it in Harry Potter, your Patronus here.
And Rick
like
is definitely, your podcast studio is impressive. Rick is also very handy. You're very organized. I mean, I love going, I feel like I'm in LA when I go into your studio. I love it. So, so what's next for you guys? Liz, I'll start with you. Are you living your dream right now?
I am, yeah. I have to thank Rick for the opportunity to partner with him on this podcast, because it really, truly, for me, is a creative outlet. I consider it a stress reliever for me. Again, working, I'm a marketing executive. I have 3 kids. They are very busy. Life is stressful, as everybody's is. Yeah. So I could very easily compartmentalize and shut down and just focus on those things. But at the end of the day, I would like something for Liz. I would like to remember who Liz is. Not the mom, not the wife, not the daughter, not the marketing executive, but who I am personally. And that's what this is for me. And I will keep doing it as long as he lets me.
Oh, and how about you, Rick?
Well, unfortunately, we're going to an all Christian mingle format next week, and we have to let you go. This is bad timing. I'm sorry. We're gonna. I want to keep doing the thing. So my kids are getting older. That's why I said to my wife, hey, I'm leaning into this now. We're getting away from hobby enthusiast level, and we're going professional. I got a website. Can I plug it? RickFinkJr.com. It's just my name. And Small Town Scuttlebutt is our website for our podcast as well. But I want to get those kids off to college or whatever they're doing with themselves after high school, when I'm no longer legally obligated to do anything. And then I'm going to get an RV, and we're going to just call it the Fink bus, and we're going to drive around, and all my friends are going to get on it, and we're going to hit comedy clubs, golf clubs, and probably beaches, things I like to do. That's what that is going to be my 50s and 60s.
You are my hero.
Yeah.
So back to, we only got a couple more minutes here. Tell us a joke. Tell us a joke.
A joke?
Tell us a joke. Tell us something that you're, for the Small Town Scuttlebutt, which is the name of their podcast, and it's on all the social media. You can find them. Something you're working on for that. Like, give us a concept and then how you spin it into a Rick observation.
Yeah, well, I have, this is cable access.
Yeah. What's annoying you right now?
No, I know what's going to happen. In AI, robots
are taking over the
You
world.
think they're going to take your content?
I think they are going to be having sex with us in less than 5 years. Can I say that?
Yeah.
And not me, not you, probably Liz, but like as society, I see where we're going here, and I have a bit on this. And I worked it out with some guys, some LA comics I met in Toronto at that comedy festival. And it was awesome because we sat around having dinner at like 11 at night at a Denny's, you know, and talking about sex bots. And it was really, I can't wait to tell. Come see a show. You got to hear this one. It's going to be great. I love it. I'm happy with that one right now.
Okay. Anything you're working on, Miss Liz? What is annoying you in that small town of Medfield that you just can't wait to blast out on the airwaves?
Oh my! The amount of times that I have to pull in and out of my driveway to transport my children to the various activities they are involved in, or to drop one off somewhere and get home and say, oh, I forgot my XYZ, can you drop it back off at the field? So that in between, basically being, we said this, what did we say last week on the podcast, where wallets,
Muscles, wheels, and money.
Yeah, that's what we are. We basically are transporting goods and children to and from places and then handing them fistfuls of cash so they can go to Starbucks afterwards.
And if I can just add, you will miss it when it's gone.
I know.
That is not a joke.
You said
that
you don't
is
miss your kids'
joke.
baseball games before the show. Did you hear that?
Whoops, put a zip on that. I loved every minute of my child's baseball career where I sat on the sidelines in the freezing cold and just had a blast. But you guys are terrific, honestly. I hope that our audience has enjoyed you as much as I do. So 2 questions as we wrap up. Again, where can they find you?
So on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you can follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at Small Town Scuttlebutt. And we are always looking for people to reach out to us with stories, ideas, feedback. And so we can be reached at smalltownscuttlebutt@gmail.com.
Okay. And as we wrap up, I will start with Rick and then end with Liz. What does living well mean to you, Rick?
Well, living well is going to get a 120-minute right key session. Jeez, you have no idea how good I feel right now. Seriously, though, you got to just center yourself. Like, say no to things. Know what your boundaries are. Be as accommodating as you can. Get out there, socialize, get fresh air, nature. Thank you.
Okay. And Liz?
I've used the word authentic a couple of times today, and I really do believe that living well is showing up authentically as yourself, being comfortable in your own skin. That allows you to create genuine connections with people, I feel like, and to truly enjoy all of your experiences. So be authentic, be yourself, and if people don't like that, they don't need to be your people.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you both again. Thank you all for tuning in. I will be back next month with another edition of Living Well with Mary Lou Andre. And thank you both. This was awesome, and it went by so fast. Yeah. So I'll be tuning in. I hope you get a couple of new viewers out there. And again, thank you for showing up for all of us and being authentic to your brands.
All right.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
Thanks.